Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of ParaTalk. I'm sure, as you all see, we are on our summer schedule now. So for now, our shows are going to be on Sunday nights, every other week schedule as well. So hopefully that hasn't confused too many of you. But I do think this is going to be something that we carry out and continue to do with having a summer schedule and then like a rest of the year schedule. Our summers tend to get pretty crazy and busy, so it just works out better for us this way. But like I said, welcome back. We hope you all enjoyed your weekend so far. Kind of feels like we've been gone forever, doesn't it, Scott?
Yeah.
But here we
Yeah.
are. And we actually do have a very special guest joining us tonight. So if you have not seen our posters for our show coming up, tonight we are joined by Linda Anthony Hill. She is the proprietor of the Hill House Manor in Gainesville, Texas. She is also an award-winning author, which we'll dig into some of her books once she comes in and joins us. So the Hill House Manor and Linda have been featured on the A&E Bio channel's My Ghost Story and on HGTV as one of the most haunted homes in America. There is so much more to get into with Linda. She's accomplished many things throughout the years. So let's go ahead and bring her on in here and get this conversation started.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you
Good to
tonight?
see you again.
Good to see you all again. Well, very excited to have you on tonight. I seen you on Tui's show, and I said,
Yeah,
we
I
gotta
got
get on our
the
show.
start of
Well, you heard me on Tui's show.
Yeah.
Hey, we're lucky. We got both of you. Like, we got audio and video.
All right.
Yeah.
Take
Yeah,
it.
very excited for that. Well, we'll start off with we know you had plenty of experiences over the years and stuff, but I'd like to know what made you decide to purchase a haunted house.
Yes.
Why?
It was, well, we bought the house. My husband and I bought the house as an investment property, a rental property. It's over 3,000 square feet.
Wow.
And it was split into 3 units. Now, 2 of those units were rented and livable, and 1 unit needed some work, like electrical and putting up walls and things like that.
Yeah.
But we were going to rent out the 2 rooms or 2 suites and let the excess pay for fixing up the 3rd unit, which then we'd have cash flow. But we couldn't get anybody to stay. Everybody would leave after anywhere from 2 to 6 months. The longest anyone stayed on a 12-month lease was 6 months. That was the longest.
Wow.
Yeah. And we didn't know what was going on, but we had bought several homes in the neighborhood. When we made the deal, it was a package deal. The gentleman that was selling the homes, his mother had died and left him with about 60 homes, and it was just more than he could handle. And so he was splitting them off into smaller packages, and we took one of the smallest packages. But anyway, it wasn't a good neighborhood. It was what they used to call the red light district. You know, if you were looking for sex or drugs, you went to this neighborhood.
That's where you went. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. And we started cleaning it up. We started cleaning it up literally. I mean, there was trash and old dead limbs, and just it was a trashy looking neighborhood. So we started cleaning up that part, and we started cleaning up the tenants. we started moving on the hookers and what have you, and moving in better families, more family oriented. And within 2 years, it was pretty much a settled neighborhood with, tenants that some of them are still here. And that was in like 2004 that we started all that. But Hill House Manor, nobody would stay. And after 2 years and everything else in the neighborhood had settled down, and we're still having people move in and out in 2 months, what the deposit that you put down on a house or an apartment does not cover you moving out in 2 months, because you have to redo walls and you have to redo floors, and it's not worth it. So we said, okay, we were going to this neighborhood every weekend because we had full-time day jobs. We were going on the weekends to work on the properties. We were younger and we would actually get in there and do the work ourselves,
Right.
So we would go up on a Friday and work for a while and then go home, which was over an hour away, and then go back the next morning. And then that night we would go back home, and, that's how our weekend went. So we said, all right, we're going to take this house, which is the biggest house in the neighborhood, but who cares? We're going to fix up one of the units for us. We put a blow up mattress in the back bedroom. And we put an air conditioner in a window, and we brought a toaster and a coffee maker. And, we would stay there for the weekend. And we're only 20 minutes from a casino, the world's biggest casino.
Oh, there you go.
We could also take off and do a little, gambling. and it worked out well. And at one point, my husband was showing a property across the street from this house. And the woman he was showing it to pointed to Hill House Manor, which wasn't named Hill House Manor at the time. And she said, that house is haunted. My aunt lived there 30 years ago, and it was haunted then, and it's still haunted.
Wow.
Well, my husband told me that story, and I thought, okay, if I've just moved into an older neighborhood, I'm not familiar with it, and the neighbors tell me that the house is haunted, and it's an old house, the pipes bang and the floors creak,
Right.
your imagination can take hold, and
Absolutely.
all of a sudden, every bump in the night is a ghost.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought. But it was probably a few months later that I had an experience that got me on my ghost story. And suddenly I realized, okay, that girl was right. This house was haunted. And there was no reason to try to rent it to anybody ever again. And we just settled in with the idea that, okay, it's haunted. We only have to stay here 2 nights in a row. How bad can it be?
Right.
And I told my daughter what was going on, and she was in college at the time, and she told some friends who were in the area, and some of them were in a ghost hunting group. Now, this is back right when the show Ghost Hunters started coming on.
Okay.
So there weren't a lot of ghost hunters all over the place like there are now. Right. I mean, nowadays you throw a rock, you're going to find a ghost hunting team. But back then they weren't as easy to come by. But one of her friends at the college was part of a ghost hunting team, and they wanted to know if they could come and investigate. So we said, sure, come on. So they came and they investigated and let us know that it was indeed had paranormal activity. And they started telling their friends. And I started getting phone calls from around the state. Could we come and investigate your house? And I said, okay, a couple of times, but by the third or fourth time, I said, well, would you pay to investigate for the night? And they said, sure, no problem. So it was like ding, ding, ding.
Right.
Because we're still paying the mortgage on this place. We're paying the
Absolutely.
taxes on this place. We're paying to keep the utilities on, all of that. So it was like, yeah, definitely. If you want to pay, we'll let you stay. And it quickly got a reputation in Texas.
Okay.
And within a couple of years, we were renting the house out almost weekly.
Wow.
We're actually open 7 nights a week. And the
Okay.
rates vary depending on what night you want to stay. Like if you want to stay
Okay.
on a Sunday night, it's only $150 for up to
Right.
10 people. If you want to stay on a Saturday night, it's $250 for up to 10 people.
Right.
And anyway, I don't know that we were the first ones to ever do this, but I didn't have any real role models. We just kind of made it up as we went along, how we would make the arrangements and rent it out. But it all settled into place, and we've been going strong ever since. And every year, I think this is going to die down. This is all going to die down. And every year, they surprise me. And we have phone calls and we get emails, that they want to come and spend the night and investigate. And of course, they're welcome. And we've made a lot of improvements over the years.
Right.
It's still an older home. The side that wasn't fixed up still isn't fixed up. I mean, it doesn't have electricity. So there's a whole 1,000 square feet of the house that has no electricity. So if you get an EMF reading, it's not coming from an electrical outlet.
Right.
And I've had people argue, no, there's electricity over there because we're getting these readings. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. There's no electricity over there. It's been interesting. It's been fun. I've met a lot of people. I've had a few experiences of my own that were upsetting enough that I don't wait inside the house for teams to arrive anymore. I wait at my own house. They text me and I go meet them at the house and let them in. Or I might sit on the porch and wait for them, but I don't go in and wait by myself, especially if it's in the winter and it gets dark at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
No. I am not sitting in that house at 4 in the afternoon when it's dark. No. But we have a lot of regulars now that I call them alumni that I just give them the key code and they let themselves in. But if it's newbies, I give a tour, which usually lasts at least an hour, if not an hour and a half, depending on how much they want. Some people come in and they don't want to know anything.
Yes.
Nothing. They want to experience it and see for themselves what they find. And other groups come in and they want to hear all the stories. It's like I could spend 3 hours telling stories and they'd be happy. But that's how we got started, and that's how we continue to roll.
Do you know anything about like the history of the home or the property in which maybe causing this, or is it just kind of like a superficial thing where there's nothing?
There is nothing in the background of the house that points to any particular reason for it to be haunted. It's not like the Axe House or any of those places that have a ghost that is angry. We strive for positive vibrations at Hill House Manor. Anything negative comes in and we're on it. We are moving it on to other places. We don't want it at Hill House. And we've had that happen a few times where something negative will show up. Yeah. And we just get over there and, do the saging and do the, we call it processing, but you can actually make communication with an entity and find out what's bothering it and move it on.
Right.
And that's what we'll do when we run into anything negative. And it wasn't that way in the beginning. There were some negative things in the beginning that scared some people pretty bad. But anymore, the worst that happens is someone gets scratched or their hair pulled or something like that, you know.
And a lot of people need to understand, I mean, you know, for anybody watching us right now and it's like, oh, but she just said that, you know, the negative and the scratching and okay, deep breath. Let's calm down here a second, because just because someone gets scratched during an investigation or gets their
does
hair
not
pulled,
mean there's a demon there.
Yes, absolutely. It could just simply be they've been trying so hard to get your attention, and then they finally, yes, finally were able to build up enough energy that, you know, unfortunately, yes, it comes out in a scratch, but they weren't trying to inflict.
They weren't trying to hurt you, and they're not trying to take over your soul.
Absolutely.
You know, it's just it's beings without bodies that are trying to communicate in any way that they can.
Yeah, and I mean, I've had my hair pulled. I mean, now no one's pulling my hair here anytime soon because I got a shaved head now. But
Scared to that bad, did it?
You know, there was only one time. I lied. I shouldn't say never. There was only one time where I had my hair pulled and I was like, ooh, this don't feel right.
Right.
Like any other time, it was just like oh, okay, you know, well, how are you? Like, let's talk, kind of like thing. So yeah, I think that's a misconception that a lot of people, especially if they're not in the paranormal community or, you know, have really researched enough about it, they get it very, very, you know, twisted in a way that just because someone gets scratched or they get their hair pulled, it's a negative entity. Or some investigators might fly to, you know, well, that's a demon, that's something demonic. That's no.
Not at Hill House Manor. Now, I'm not going to say about any other haunted place. All I can speak to is Hill House Manor. But at Hill House Manor, we don't do negative. We just don't. And I tell people at the beginning of their investigation, if they run into anything negative, they are to call me, because we're going to take care of it.
That's good. And it also shows that you are there to protect the investigation teams that are coming in.
Yes.
You know, and that's a good relationship to have with somebody when you are actually going to their home, their business, their whatever, to do an investigation. You want to have a good relationship with that person. That way, if and when something does happen, you can easily communicate about it.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel like you're walking on eggshells. So
Right.
And I have heard you speak on that a couple of times now about how you keep your negative crap outside. Don't bring it into into here. And it's hard when you own a location, because unfortunately there's so many people in and out. And, you know, we all know entities, they will follow people. They will come with people.
Yeah. That's my favorite groups, is when they show up with their own. I'm like, hey, we're covered. They're definitely going to have activity. You know, you can see them walk in with them.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be good.
Now, have there been any investigations, you know, other than the ones that, you know, have been aired and stuff like that, that people can, you know, easily find, that you've stuck around and you've actually investigated with the team? And
yes.
Okay.
In the beginning, I would, because it was an hour drive back to my house, and I didn't want strangers in this house and me be an hour away.
Right.
So I kept a room in the back of the house that was strictly mine. And my husband and I would stay the night, and I would go out and see what was going on, because, you know, it was all new to me. I never heard of ghost hunting before this house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I had no idea there were people that went out and looked for ghosts. I had no idea. it's interesting, and it was especially interesting back then to see all the different techniques that are used.
Right.
And everyone thinks that their technique is the only possible way to do it, you know, but they're all so different.
Yeah.
I've had people come in with nothing but dowsing rods and pendulums,
Right.
and do a whole night investigating with nothing but those tools. And then I have had teams come in that fill up the dining room with their equipment. I mean, they've just got everything you could think of. And they've got lines running all through the house. And granted, they get more stuff. they get more evidence. But what I've found over the years is that I can show you a piece of evidence, and if you're a skeptic, you're going to critique it and find a reason not to trust it.
Right.
And
you have people out there too where that is solely what they do. They don't actually investigate. They are just there to solely debunk whatever they can, however they can. So
I'm a bit of a debunker myself.
Yeah, and I think that's why this field is so interesting because, you know, like you were saying, where teams come in, it's like they got this and that's it. And then other teams come in and it's like, whoo, house is full of, you know, equipment and devices and, you know,
Radio Shack must be empty.
Yeah, exactly.
They bought them out.
And it's, I mean,
do they still have Radio Shack? I don't even know.
I think they do.
Question. Do they?
I think you better a few around.
I don't know.
There.
Yeah. Now
maybe online.
Now I'm gonna have to get a giggle. Because I know back home, the only Radio Shack that we had left, well, Scott, there in York County in the West Manchester Mall.
Oh yeah.
That closed down. Oh, good. I was still a youngin', I do believe, when that closed down, and I'm not young anymore. So it's been a while.
Ours in town closed a few years ago.
We're gonna look this up.
Okay.
Linda,
but
you're talking about staying outside when people come. Now, was there a certain experience that made you uncomfortable that you don't want to do back in there?
Oh yeah. I mean, there have been several that made me leery. But the last time I stayed inside waiting for a team, it was during the fall or the winter when, you know, the sun set early. And I was in the dining room straightening out something on a table, and I was looking for a long lighter.
Okay.
Are you speaking, Scott?
I was talking about my dog's barking until I could take it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm looking for this long lighter because we have an old-fashioned heater, gas heater, that heats up the whole side of the house, but I think they're not even legal anymore. Like you can't sell them anymore.
Is that the one that's on kerosene?
No, it's not kerosene. It's natural gas. But I can't remember the name of it. I will eventually. But anyway, I was looking for the lighter. I was about to light up the heater. And, you know, some people arrive early for hunts. And someone walked in behind me, which would be, I'm in the dining room. Behind me is the living room, which has a door that goes to an entryway that has a door that runs to the outside. Anyway, someone walks up behind me and kind of next to me, and I can see him out of the corner of my eye. And I turned around, to greet them and let them know that, they could wait on the front porch for their team if they wouldn't mind. And there was nobody there.
Oh.
Right. So I was like, okay, damn. I walked over to the door and opened it and looked, and the front door was locked with a deadbolt. No one could have walked in.
Oh,
But
wow.
you know what it's like when you know someone's walking up behind you. It
Yeah.
wasn't right behind me. It was off to the side of me, behind me. And that one, for some reason, that scared me. It just, I think they intended it to scare me. I'm not sure. But they play jokes on me all the time. They love to play tricks on me. I will put something down and go to pick it up and it's gone. Or it might be in the kitchen and I was in the living room when I set it down. Or it might be upstairs, or, they just play tricks on me. I'll be in the back of the house and I'll hear people talking in the front of the house and think someone's arrived, and I'll walk all the way to the front of the house and there's nobody there and the door's locked. And it was definitely people talking in the front of the house. So they mess with me. They mess with me. And that time messed with me just the wrong way. And I said, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
And that was it. I now, the closest I get to waiting on people is to wait on the front porch, which is a very comfortable porch. It's got a rocking chair and,
there you go.
Yeah, it's a big porch. But no, I don't wait in the house anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that once something happens that triggers you like that, it's like, okay, that was my sign. I got it. Like, you'll put yourself, you tend to put yourself more back into your comfort zone instead of going out of your comfort zone. And we as investigators, we do the same thing. We walk into a space and it's like, oh, something don't feel right. Typically we exit ourselves from that space for a little bit and then come back to it to see if it feels any better, So, and that can be scary. It can be scary when you feel like that.
Yes.
It's intimidating. Yeah.
I've had a psychic stop at the curb, start to get out of her car, and say, I can't go in there tonight.
Oh, wow.
There's just too much activity in there tonight. I'm too open. I'm feeling way too much all the way out here at the curb. I can't go in. And, what are you going to do?
Right.
You don't get to play with that psychic tonight.
Yeah, exactly. She's had all she can already handle and she's not even in the house yet. Yeah. And it's hard because it does draw a lot of energy from them. It does, and if they are in this whirlwind of communicating with spirits, it weakens them. It puts them in a very vulnerable position then. So, I understand completely. Yeah. And
exactly.
And good for her for knowing her limits and then being like, no,
she's a very experienced psychic.
Yeah.
She knows what she can handle and what she can't.
That's good. That's good.
And what's not meant to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the books that you have wrote and what made you do it? And
actually, my first published book was the Hill House Manor guest book, which when we first started, I put out a composition book and called it a guest book and asked people to sign in. And for the first couple of pages, it's people signing in, writing their address and date and a comment. The comment line was about that big. And after a couple of pages, they would start writing a few sentences about maybe what had happened to them during the night, or, thank you, we had a great time, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then as time went on, I have one page that the whole page is taken up by a description of this woman's experience at the house that night. And one night I was sitting there, and it was probably 2 or 3 in the morning, and someone was sitting over there reading the house, the composition book, like it was a book, just reading the stories from the different people. And
Right.
I thought, one, I need to make a copy of that book because it's getting tattered from people reading it. And when I started making copies of the book, I started seeing things that, I remember that night. I have a picture of that night. I remember that person doing that. I have a picture of that. So it turned into, instead of just copying, I copied, turned them into files, what is the word?
Transcribed.
Transcribed.
Yeah, right.
I transcribed what they had written so that one side of the page is pictures of the page and pictures of what might have happened that night. And the other side of the page is the transcription of what this over here says, because you can't always make it out.
Right.
And I turned it into a book that was kind of a souvenir, but we still sell copies of it today online.
That's
But that was my first publishing experience.
Okay.
The next book I published was through a publisher, and I would not have written the book if I had not had the experiences that I've had at Hill House Manor. It was not based on Hill House Manor.
Okay.
The closest thing about it that comes to Hill House Manor is that the main character is a psychic who makes her living as a psychic. I mean, she has a schedule 9 to 5 every day. By the end of the first book, she has an assistant, and the story is about a murder mystery that she gets pulled into. But she lives in a house that's very similar to Hill House Manor, in a neighborhood that's very similar to the neighborhood at Hill House Manor. But that's where the similarity ends. And that book is, I have 2 books published. I can't remember now. But I'm on either the 3rd or the 4th book in the series about Madame Celeste. And the first book is The Anchor is the Key. I think
I'll check them out then. Yeah, the answer is key. Anchor is yeah.
Okay.
I also, my most recent book is a collection of ghost stories that I wrote that are inspired by Hill House Manor in one way or another. They're not, they're fiction. I published it as a fiction, but Hill House Manor, not by that name, but just the house itself. For people who are familiar with Hill House Manor, they will recognize some of the scenes, some of the books, not the books, but the stories from Hill House Manor. And then others of them are complete fiction. And the book starts when the Hill House Manor was built. It was a 1-room cabin back in the way before things were incorporated, and Texas was a state, or it may have been a republic. It was right around that time, though, where it went from being a republic to being a state. And it follows through, the first story follows through the pioneer days, and when another house was brought in and it was turned into a 2-room house, And then, from there they added on, and we're not sure exactly how they added on. But the stories in the book progress from that time period on through to now, or 2016. They're not horror stories. They're more like campfire ghost stories.
Oh,
Okay.
You might shed a tear on one or two of the stories, and you might get a little frightened by one or two of this. There's clowns and things like that. But Gainesville, which is where Hill House Manor is located, Gainesville, Texas, had a circus at one time that traveled up and down the railroad routes and actually performed. It's how they got through the Depression. The whole town became part of the circus. And I think that's how the zoo here started. It's the Frank Buck Zoo, and Frank Buck would send animals from his travels around the world. And so they created the Frank Buck Zoo. But I think they also had some animals that came from the circus. And I'm not sure exactly which order that's in. But there's a couple of circus stories in the book.
Okay.
I have a copy of that here too. Hill House Manor, 13 Ghost Stories.
Oh, I like that cover.
Yeah, I do too.
Ooh.
And all these are available on Amazon, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You can look for Linda Anthony Hill on Amazon, or you can look for any title, and there'll be an option to go to Linda Anthony Hill. And when you get there, it has all my books. Like I have 3 children's ghost hunting books, which is about a young boy who's about 9, and he decides to hunt. Well, no, he doesn't. He gets visited by a ghost and becomes interested in ghost hunting. It's a very, what's the word? I don't know. It's a good way to introduce children to the afterlife if you lean that direction.
Right.
Without bringing Christianity into it, or Muslim, or any religious beliefs. It's just, there is something after this.
Right.
And that's as far as it goes. And then you get to meet some of the people that are after this in each story. And there's usually a lesson in the story for kids that age group. It's for like 2nd, 3rd, 4th graders.
Oh, very nice.
They're chapter books, which in 2nd or 3rd grade, they have to start reading chapter books.
Yeah.
And so they have 1 picture per chapter, so they have a picture, but mostly it's written word. And the one I'm working on right now, I have 3 published, 1 ready for publication, and the next one is in the works. And it's focusing on bullying in school. How people become bullies and how they can stop the cycle. But it all takes place around a ghost. And a lot of times the ghost that they go hunting turns out to not be a ghost at all. It's something that you can explain.
Okay.
But sometimes, there's always a ghost somewhere in the books. But those are also available on Amazon.
Yeah, it sounds. You have fun. I'll check them out.
Oh yeah, and then I just noticed the one behind your head, Scott. Finding Up. Finding Up.
Oh, finding
Yeah,
up.
you're blocking it now.
There you go.
There it is, finding up.
Move your head, Scott.
That has nothing to do with ghosts.
Okay.
That is a self-help book. That if you imagine life as a stairway, there are certain steps that have to be taken along the way from the journey to not knowing anything about a subject and mastering a subject. And this breaks down, it's 16 steps.
Okay.
And you have to go through all 16 steps to really be considered a master in any subject, whether it's learning to walk, drive a car, run a company, whatever it is you're trying to learn to do. If you're having difficulty, this book can help.
Very nice.
Yeah. It's a little out of my usual theme, but it was something I studied for about 20 years. And I had the knowledge and I wanted to share it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
It's a book worth reading, definitely.
Okay.
I'm
gonna make my son read that one.
There you go.
Yeah. 14, already talking about driving already. Yeah, you read this first, then we'll talk, okay?
Exactly. My daughter has made my grandson read it. He's 14.
See? Okay.
Yeah,
See?
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be able to walk before you can run.
Yeah, and that's great because it really does. It's a book that will literally cover different age groups of people for anything, anything.
Anything. A 14-year-old can read this and apply it to what they're trying to do.
Yep.
A 70-year-old can read this and apply it to what they're trying to do.
That's awesome.
And if you ever wonder what's holding you back, this book will answer the question.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of it.
You should be. I will be getting that book for my son. I'm telling you, and I will make sure he reads it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to quiz you on this, my son.
Well, now that means you have to read it too.
I will. I'll read it first, and then.
There you go. That's probably the best bet.
Yeah.
That way I can quiz him on it and make sure he did actually read it.
Oh, you'll notice.
And teenagers go through a lot of different processes in their life during that point in time. So I think it would be,
everything's new and everything doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And they know so much more than they did 3 years ago. They ought to be able to just skate through from now on. And no, when you get to the 16th step, you have to start at step 1 again on the next thing you want to master.
Right.
You never stop learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. And that's something I think about life in general that a lot of people just kind of I don't really think about anymore is every day should be a learning process for you.
Right.
There's always so much more that you can soak up, that you can educate yourself about. And I mean, I know for me, I like to have an active brain, unless it's like one of my lazy days where it's like, don't bother me, y'all. Like, kind of thing.
We all have to have those too.
Absolutely. But and even in the paranormal field, I mean, right or wrong, Scott, but we are constantly learning new things in this field. I mean, even if it's like a new technique that we could apply to our investigations or, learning about new locations or the history of locations, there's always something that you can be learning. And that's awesome that you have a book that can guide people. And, if you really want to understand the mastering of this one subject, well, here you go. This is how you do it. Like, that's
a guide to rising up the steps of life, love, and the unknown. I'll get this lined up.
There you go.
Yeah. I like that.
That's it.
You're going to have to get it for Connor too, Scott.
Oh, he has 3 books he reads now over the summer.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, my husband made fun of me the other day. We were driving around after we left that splash pad place, and I was like, "Ooh, that reminds me. Like, I want to get a library card for the boys and I." He's like, "A library card?" He's like,
I got one.
"Go online." I'm like, "No,
I
like
have
I
one.
want the book in my hand
Mhm.
so I can read it. Like I'm old school like
Yeah.
that. This I don't know."
But what you can tell your husband is that when you get a library card, you can check books out online and read them in Kindle
Oh, you
version.
can. I do that too.
Yeah.
Oh, you can?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
you can.
I did not know
Yes, you
that.
can. Yes.
I
Oh,
do that.
okay.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, one more thing. I just yeah. I like being able to do that.
That's where I read all
I
about
don't get to do it too
UFOs.
often when it comes to my husband. So anything I can just like, I eat it up. I do.
Yeah.
Well, you've got that one.
Yeah. You wait, because as soon as I'm done here, I'm like, hey, guess what, babe? Yeah, guess what? I'm not asshole.
I think you can check out movies too. And I said
Yeah.
rent, but
Oh.
it's check out.
And
You check
music.
them out.
Music.
And
Yeah, get albums too. Music.
No
Yeah.
way. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I gotta
Libraries
get
aren't libraries anymore. They're
Yeah.
media something. I have a niece who's a librarian, but don't call her a librarian.
Mhm.
She's a media something specialist. When she first told me, I had no idea she was a librarian. I mean, in charge of a library. But that's what there's so much more to it than books
Oh
now.
no.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see,
So
and
much more.
I got to grow up experiencing that like firsthand because my mom has worked in libraries. Like what? She's worked in three different actual libraries, and then she started working for like the York County back in Pennsylvania, the actual system, the library system.
Oh,
So now she sees everything that's coming in and is going to be distributed, and it's funny because like the media and like the videos and stuff like that, we talk about that a good bit because she also has to process that stuff too, and she's like,
Yep.
I just can't get over, like it's not what it used to be. I'm like, yeah, mom, it ain't all about magazines and books anymore, is it? Like
The good old Dewey
cool.
Decimal System.
It was cool
Dewey
watch
Decimal.
that. Yeah.
Right.
The
You don't
days of
need the
actually
Dewey Decimal
flipping
System.
through, like, I miss that. It's like,
I'm sure my age now.
yeah. Poor Scott. It's okay. We love you.
I love books. I've got bookcases in every room in my house, and I've got books stacked up next to the chair that I sit in to watch TV, and I'll be watching TV and reading a book at the same time. Drives my husband crazy.
Yeah, I told my husband, I said it's been kind of so disheartening. Now, when we moved out here, we had a moving company and everything move us. And it was one of those things where, as I'm unpacking, I'm realizing, wait a second, I'm missing this. I'm missing this. Missing half of my childhood memories from certain things that were packed in a bin, and now it's just going. All of my books, now not my children's books, but all of my books going. I'm like, how does this happen? Because that's what I used to do. I would snuggle up in my bed, and the husband would put on whatever movie he wants to watch, and while he was watching a movie, that's what I did. Like I would read a book, then that was my time, just to kind of unwind, and and well, there goes that idea because all my books are gone. Like, and then
I would be devastated.
Yeah, I'm not too happy about it, and unfortunately, now we've been out here for almost 2 years, so there's nothing I can do about it now. Because we've been here for 2 years now. Now, if I would have taken notice to all of this stuff, like right away, like right after they brought us our stuff, I could have went back on that company and been like, hey,
where's my book?
missing stuff. Yeah. But Now, unfortunately, well, and even when I took notice of some of the stuff being missing, it was just too much time had gone by, unfortunately, already, so I couldn't file a claim. So
Yeah.
that
Right.
stinks. But
It does.
Scott, would you like to start showing like the slideshow, and we can let Linda
Sure.
go ahead and talk about some of the stuff that she had sent us?
Sure. There,
I
go
just
ahead, try this
realized
once.
like we're already at like 49 minutes.
I'm a talker.
And when you get involved in a good conversation, I mean, that's just it. Like you can just go on and on and on forever. I mean, we've already had so many guests where it's like, okay, you're going to have to come back because an hour just isn't enough.
I think it's to you, Scott.
Yep, I got it right here. Hold on.
Got it?
Woohoo!
There we go. Now, if I can just figure out how to do this. Okay, I'll go down to the second one here. Here, I like this. Here it is.
Yeah, I'm glad you know what you're doing.
There we go. I like this picture. Did you draw this?
I manipulated it from a picture.
Yeah, I like it.
So do I.
That's pretty cool.
There's a story about the feathers. We have feathers show up inside the house randomly. And we don't know where they're coming from. There aren't any birds in the house. But
right.
Feathers will just show up like on somebody's shoulder or the floor in the kitchen. So I had to include feathers in the logo.
I remember hearing you talk about that. That was really cool to listen in and hear you talking about that. But feathers are normally a good sign.
Yes.
So
yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Ravens. All right.
If only they'd use those feathers and do some cleaning while they're, sprinkling
oh
them
yeah,
around.
wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Here, I like this one too. This one's pretty neat.
Got ghosts? Oh yeah.
Good ghost. Oh yeah. Got a lot of them, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. And here's the one that I thought was a very pretty picture.
Now, a lot of people think those are bluebonnets, but they're not. It's a different kind of flower that grows in Texas.
Okay.
That's not a bluebonnet, but we were covered up with them one year, and I just wanted to get a picture of Hill House with all these flowers growing in front of it.
They're pretty.
Yeah, they are. And this is a pretty cool picture here. Looks like you use some kind of sepia tone or something with it.
That is actually credit to Nate, and I can't think of his last name off the top of my head.
Oh, okay.
But he contributed that.
Okay, cool. Good job, Nate. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. It's speaking of feathers, there you go.
Yes.
Feathers.
Those are to remind me to talk about the feathers.
There you go.
And the feather stories. I had a girl who was wearing just a regular jacket and investigating, and there was quite a few people investigating, and they kept finding feathers on her, just random feathers. And they came over to the safe side. We call it the safe side. As much stuff happens on the safe side as anywhere else, but that's where I was, and they came over to tell me about it. And I stood there watching this girl, and I swear to you that a feather came from nowhere and floated down and landed on her shoulder right in front of my eyes.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Yeah. That's when you know something's really going on. And that's what I
Yeah.
was going to say earlier about experiences. When you see something on a show like this or on the internet, anywhere, a lot of people are going to say yes, but they could have manipulated it by some software. But when you go to a house like Hill House, and I know there's other houses you can go to where you can have experiences. When you have the experience yourself, nobody
Right.
can take that away from you
Right.
or tell you
Absolutely.
that that must have been manipulated in software.
Yeah.
You know
Right.
what happened,
Right.
Yeah.
and it happened to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Takes,
that's pretty awesome. I guess.
it takes on a completely different tone when it's happened personally to you
Yes.
versus
Yes.
hearing it in a story or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have a really hard time convincing me that some of the things that I have seen and experienced haven't happened. Like, good
Right.
luck with that.
Exactly. But this picture here, for an example, you could call that pareidoia, but in the middle of that circle, a lot of people see a little girl standing there.
Oh, okay. I see it. I see it. Yeah.
Uh-huh. But you can always say, well, that's pareidoia. That's somebody manipulated the lighting. You can say all kinds of things.
Right. Kind of
But
almost looks like she's wearing like a hat or a bonnet or something. And
uh-huh.
A dress.
yeah, and a
Yeah.
dress. Yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
see it.
I
Yeah.
almost like that picture where you had up at where are we at? His house. I remember saw the little girl in the closet. It kind of
Oh,
look.
yeah,
It kind of look at you too. Yeah.
it does.
Yeah. So
That's really cool.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. That's a good one. And here is this one. Showing of your cameras.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a guy following that guy.
Oh yeah.
And he
Yeah.
says he has debunked it, but I don't know how you debunk being the last person in line. And he
Yeah,
was
right there.
definitely the last person in the line of people that were going through that door. And then look at that shadowy figure behind him with a whole different
Yeah.
kind of hat on.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of is, I mean, now things do happen with like photography and stuff. You know, the shutter speed,
Yeah,
where things like that can happen.
That'd be a
But
whole
then,
thing. That'd be a whole
yeah,
feature though.
but then typically, if that is what was going on here, you would be able to very distinctly still see like his black jacket, you know, and
exactly.
you don't see that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Huh.
That's not,
It's
not
interesting. I would like to
yeah.
I would like to know like why he debunked it.
He never explained it to me in any way that made sense. So I just, I still
Yeah.
show it because to me, it sure looks valid to me.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Now, this next one coming up is exciting. Do you see the mirror?
Yes.
Do
Yeah.
you see the shadow in the mirror?
Shadow in the mirror.
Yeah.
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 Can you tell pretty easily that that's not her shadow?
Yeah, it doesn't match up.
Yeah.
And the shadow does not appear on the wall, only in the mirror.
In the mirror.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
She
weird.
got
Yeah.
her group got 2 pictures like that 2 months in a row.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
With the same mirror.
Same mirror,
Wow.
little bit different shadow, man. It could be the same or it could not.
Right.
Wow.
Ooh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And it
Very
almost
long.
looks to, I mean, I mean, I know a lot of people would probably say, "Oh, well, no, like that's her."
No
But
way.
it's a lot taller than her as well.
And it's got to be like
And
a
the
man or
arm
a
is
male or something too.
the arm is facing in a different direction from the way
Yeah.
her arm is facing. She's got a bun on the top of her head.
Yeah,
The
you don't
shadow
see that in the
doesn't.
shadow either. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not her.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Huh. Here's the next one.
Now, I'm not big on orbs because we have a very dusty house. It's 150 plus years old and it's just dusty.
Mhm.
But these orbs caught my attention. You can see the door behind the biggest orb. You can see through the orb. And there's a tail on the orb at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
It just
Yeah. It's right here.
this
Yeah.
yeah
Right here.
Yeah.
Tail.
yeah down there exactly.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. If I showed nothing but orbs, I could stay on with you for a couple of
Yeah.
hours with the orbs that have been caught at Hill
Yeah.
House. But these stand out to me as potentially real.
Right. Yeah, and they have color to them too.
Yeah,
That's
they do.
something
If
else.
you
But
really
yeah.
Yeah.
focus
Not
in on
the,
them, you can see faces.
Here's
Huh.
the next one here. Here's the one I did the progression to each one. Going
Yeah.
over for the shadow. If you see the way the shadow travels.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I see it. All right.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the same door jam, and she was taking a picture after a picture after a picture after a picture. And the shadow just moves across the door frame
Oh,
in the
wow.
space of those 4 pictures.
That's pretty cool.
5
I like
pictures.
That is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, this is why we always say you always take more than one picture at the same location.
That's right.
This is
That's
why.
right.
Okay. Next one is going to be the. There we go. There you are.
You recognize the doll?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She just showed up one day after an investigation. I'm thinking somebody left her because they picked up some vibes from her. She's never caused anything negative at the house, but the fact that somebody decided to leave her at a haunted house, I think tells you something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have this.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we get people
Not
leaving
discharged.
toys
You got
all
free.
the time
Yeah.
because there are
Wow.
children in the house and they bring trigger objects and then leave them. So we have a room full of toys.
Okay.
That's cool.
Which is a technique that we've done, we've definitely done throughout the years too. So we
Mhm.
understand that all too well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very popular technique, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Now, next one, I have a few audio that I'm not sure they're working out. We'll try it.
Yeah.
We
couldn't get these to work on Tui's.
Okay. Well, let's try it. See what happens. Give it
Mhm.
a roll. What we do here. Why is it doing that? I have too close together, I guess. Why is it doing that? Worked it all every day for me. You know what? I want to see that.
Yeah, but it always happens when we actually want
No, I
it to
know.
work. You know?
Yeah.
There you go.
Not bad.
Maybe not.
Oh, it worked today. I don't know why it's not working. Of course it's not working now. Oh, I know it. Let's try this. Maybe that's why. Hold on. There we go next. There we go.
I'm glad you know what you're doing, Scott, because technology is not my friend.
All right, we'll start now. That was too far. Hold on. All right.
Oh, I heard
Did you
it.
hear
Yes.
it?
Yep, I heard it. Go ahead and play it again, Scott. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like right after what sounds like a door closing
Okay.
or something. Yep.
Yeah, play. Okay. Yeah. Next was the girl voice she sent.
Oh wow.
You really hear that one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's loud. I'll play it again.
I'm so spoiled.
Yeah.
Wow. This next one, there's no doubt about what this one says. Must I?
Yeah, but there's a story about this one.
Must I?
You hear it?
What is it going to be
Mhm.
disappointing?
Yes, it is.
Oh. Okay.
Oh dang it.
Come on now, Linda, for crying out loud.
This one's been debunked.
Okay.
I had a room in the back of the house that was off limits. And some investigators decided that they just had to investigate that room. So without going in, they slid a microphone under the door.
Oh.
And they recorded for several hours. And they came across this one that says must die. And they called me about it when they discovered it. And I was like, oh my God, there's something in my personal room that wants something that must die. So I went over and I'm investigating and I'm looking, and which they couldn't do. They weren't allowed to go in the room.
Yeah.
But I called them back. I said, would you listen to that again and see if it says it more than once? And if so, how many minutes it is between when it says it. And it turns out it was 9 minutes
Okay.
in between. And I said, okay, you know those things that you used to get and you put a can of scent in it and it would automatically whoosh every 9 minutes or 18
Oh.
minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
Sprayer,
I had one of those in that room and it was set for 9 minutes. And that's what it sounded like. Must die.
Wow.
Oh, I gotta play it
And
again.
I mean, everybody was freaking out over it. I mean, they were just freaking out over it.
Now I'm
And
gonna
that's what it turned out to be.
No, I'll play it again.
Listen
Here it is.
And that is, and now that you say
Yeah.
that is it.
That's
'Cause it does
exactly
make
what it
two
is.
different. Yep. It's like when it
Yep.
releases, it makes a sound, and then when it closes, it makes
It clicks.
Right.
Yep.
So that was a debunk. So I am the queen of debunk. If there's a debunk to be found, I'm going to find it. But I didn't find it on I'm Cold or Little Girl's Voice, and I've got
Right.
dozens and dozens of EVPs that I'm spoiled. If it's not a class A, I can listen to it on my laptop and hear it. It's not an EVP. And, you know,
Yeah.
I've just heard too many that are so good.
Well,
There's
yeah,
no way not to hear it.
we got to get
Well,
down there.
We've been on cases already where, you know, okay, let's just say we were in a 2-story location and some of our devices are that good that we could be, let's say, downstairs and then we've got 3 people upstairs. Well, they're talking, and if you don't know each, and this is why I say, you know, especially when people reach out to us who are just starting a paranormal team or something like that, is know your members. Really know your members and their voices, because for us, we could have handed that to somebody else and they would have been like, oh, you got what?
Yeah.
But for us, when we're listening to it, now it might have taken 2-3 times of listening to it very closely, but then you're like, okay,
that's so-and-so.
So-and-so upstairs, and that's why it sounds so distant, because they're on a completely different floor than where I was. So
what I always recommend is take your tape recorders and everybody be in the same room, pass the tape recorder around, having each person say the same thing. Hello, I'm Nancy, and pass it on to the next person. And then when everybody has said it, just talking, pass it around and have everybody whisper it. Because it's the whispers that get you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the whispers.
That's why we show people, don't whisper. Please don't whisper. You got something to say it out loud.
But people still do.
They still do it. They still do it.
They still do it.
Man.
Oh, my battery's running low. Are we running out of time?
Well, we're about 10 minutes over, you know, an hour. So, you know, that's not bad. We're doing good.
Yeah. Yeah, I got your last page up here and everything. Giving you information, your social media website. So I think we had a great time tonight. It was fun.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on sometime, and hopefully, you know, we can get down there. I mean, Texas is a bit of a haul for us, but we'll find a way to do it. We always do, don't we?
One quick thing.
Drive.
We are going to be participating. We're going to be participating in the world's largest ghost hunt at the end of September.
You are doing that?
Yes, we're doing that along with Maria Schmidt is the one that kind of oversees it. We will be participating this year. It's the last Saturday in September.
I think it's 25th, isn't it?
I don't remember the date.
I think September 25th, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's what you said. I know we talked about it. I know Scott, you know, we talked about it after we heard, you know, Linda speaking about it before.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Cool. So before we let you go, though, would you mind explaining that to our viewers, like what that means with this?
The world's largest ghost hunt?
Yeah.
What they have done, this started a few years ago, and Maria was the driving force. Over 150 locations and teams around the planet will be investigating at the exact same time, which means it might be 2:00 in my location and 7:00 in someone else's location, but they will all be together. And there are usually certain questions. It's a test to see if we can make psychic connections around the planet.
Right.
There are certain questions that are given to each team, are given the same questions to ask of the spirits in their location. And then it's all written down and sent into home base, and they compare answers to the questions, and it only lasts about 2 or 3 hours, I think. But then we have a hunt that will continue into the evening.
Oh,
And
okay.
and it's to help raise awareness. It's help raise money for the locations to help them preserve the location. So, you know, people sell tickets to it, and you can come, and there's a core team, and then there's the people that pay to participate. Everybody broadcasts at the same time. So you can go in and look for the location you're interested in, and you can see what's going on in that location, or you can hop around to different locations around the planet.
I love that.
There are literally people participating in Australia, in Asia, Europe, here in the States. There's a lot here in the States. Just any place that they can get on board with it. And it usually crashes. We usually crash the server because there's so many people.
So many.
But it still turns out really great. Everybody has a good time. And it's well worth it.
It's such a cool concept.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really cool concept. I can't wait. I can't wait for that. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Scott and I have talked about it already too. Like, how can we get in this bandwagon? Like, how do we do this? Because this is a cool idea. Like, love it. Absolutely love the idea.
Well, the home base
for those of you that are watching.
The home base is up near you guys.
Oh, okay.
Closer to you guys than it is to us. It might be further over on the East Coast. I'm not sure exactly where it is.
All right.
Huh.
I should be, but I'm not.
Sometimes it's just too much information to know.
I blame my age.
I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's great. Oh, that's so cool. That's such a neat concept. So yeah, for those of you watching, you know, keep an eye out for that too. I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. I can't wait to actually see this in motion. You know, I've heard about it before, but to actually see it in motion is going to be pretty cool. So I look forward to that. I really do.
I'll post it on our site. So.
Okay. Yes, please do, Scott. Coolness. Thank you. But yes, we will let you go for the evening, Linda. It has been fun for sure. So we'll definitely have to have you back. And for those of you watching, you know, go out and grab her books and, you know, cuddle up in your bed or your couch and enjoy some good reading material.
Yeah.
For those of you who are investigators,
well,
reach out to Linda if you want to get yourself to the house to investigate it. You know, right now you can see the ways to get a hold of her. And hopefully maybe we can have you back, Linda. That'd be great.
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah,
a lot of fun.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up this evening with Linda, but keep an eye out, guys, because we just might have her back at some point in time again. So thank you for tuning in and joining us on this Sunday evening, and we will see you on our next show. Bye.
Peace.